Welcome back, everyone. This is GTA Failure. In the last video, we completed all 4 off-road missions, and I mentioned that in this save file, the very next thing that we need to do to increase our percentage in terms of in-game completion is the next story mission, the first Luigi mission. To my knowledge, there's nothing else we can do in this game to add to our percentage completion without moving the story missions forward. So I thought this would be a good time to do something a little bit different here. We are going to explain how the game calculates what percentage of the tasks you have completed. So the URL that you can see here at the top of this browser window is going to be pasted into the YouTube description below. So check it out if you'd like. But this is the GTA forum, and I'm going to essentially read to you and then explain a little bit the posting here by KG Beast. So it says, this is the first in a series of posts I'll be doing on this subject on each of the game boards. Not going to read everything here, but we'll jump ahead to this part. It's pretty common knowledge that GTA 3 has 154 objective points. And in order to get 100% completion, you need to earn all 154 of those objective points. So if you divide 154 by, if you divide 100 by 154, you get roughly 0.65% per objective point. So said another way, every time you earn an objective point in the game, your in-game percentage tracker will go up by roughly 0.65%. Okay, so the question is, how did what are the 154 objectives? How do you get those points? When are they awarded? And so this person, KG Beast, did a ton of really great work, so I'm going to share with you the results of their work. And if you are into this kind of thing, feel free to not only go to check out this particular post, but in this same posting, you'll see links to KG Beast doing exactly the same thing for several other GTA games. So lots of work went into this for them, and I think it's good stuff. Okay, so one thing, it says that the game does not show you decimal places and instead only displays the last whole number you passed. Said another way, the game will take your percentage completion with all the messy decimals at the end, and it will round it down, always rounding it down, not rounding according to the 0.5 rule, but just rounding down every time. Okay, so there are 73 missions altogether. We've seen that number a few times. That total is reached by adding 48 story missions, 17 payphone missions, 4 off-road / checkpoint missions, and 4 RC missions. And you get 1 objective point upon completion for each one. So let's take a look. The one and only story mission that we completed was the hybrid, the kind of dual mission called Give Me Liberty with 8-Ball and the Luigi's Girls, where we picked up Misty. That is the only story mission we've completed. So as soon as we got the mission passed message in the very first video in this series way back when, we got our very first objective point. Okay, well, we're not going to go through and read all of these missions, but we haven't done any of them. So that's the 48 story missions. We have credit for 1 out of those 48 points. Then there's 17 payphone missions. We haven't done any of these either because they're not available. The first payphone missions are going to be on Portland. There's a collection of 4 here, over in, I don't know, Trenton or something in the far south. And then in the far north, there's another collection of 4, but neither of these payphone missions has been unlocked. So can't do any of those, haven't done any of those. Let's keep going. 4 off-road missions, Patriot Playground, Ride in the Park, Gripped, and Multi-Story Mayhem. We did all 4 of those in the last video, and we just earned ourselves another 4 points. I'm not going to do a cumulative tally of the objective points that we've earned as we kind of go through these. I've written it all down, and I'll add it up for you at the end. But in any event, we just our 1 cumulative tally at this point. We have the 1 objective point for the first story mission we did in the first video in this series. And then the last video, we earned 4 more objective points for a total of 5, just including those 2 things. Okay, the video before last one, we did all 4 of the RC missions. So we got 4 more points added to our total there. The game contains 20 rampages, and a bit unfairly, you are only rewarded a single objective point upon completing all 20. That's right. Completing the first 19 of those rampages didn't earn us any objective points. We only got 1 point at the end of completing the 20th and final rampage. The order in which you do the rampages doesn't matter. This is also true of Vice City, and it's a whopping 35 rampages. but only one objective point in Vice City for completing all 35 of those rampages. And then a bit of an editorial here. It is fairly typical of GTA games that the most time-consuming tasks in the games reward you with the smallest percentages. So we got one objective point for doing all 20 rampages. Okay, so here's an important point here. In this game, you get an objective point each time you're given a reward for completing a side mission. I'll say it again. You get an objective point each time you're given a reward for completing a side mission. So, thinking about hidden packages, we got the pistol reward after we found and collected our first 10 hidden packages. So, the first 9 hidden packages didn't add to our percentage at all. But once we got that 10th one and we got a reward, that's the key to unlocking the next objective point. So when we got the 10th one, we got one more objective point added to our total. Same thing when we got the 20th package, we got another point, 30th package, another point. So all told, the 100 hidden packages were worth 10 objective points to us at the end of the day. Much like rampages, there are 20 stunt jumps. Luckily, you're given an objective point for every single one, making them a surprising chunk of your total. That's right, 20 unique stunt jumps gave us 20 objective points. 13% of the 100% in-game completion is just those 20 unique jumps. This is even more noticeable in Vice City, where 36 jumps, 36 objective points, and a 23% of the entire game's in-game tracker, almost a quarter of the percentage points you earn in Vice City, are from completing the 36 jumps. Cool. Okay, as stated before, you receive an objective point for every side mission reward. This comes into play here. All right, so we're going to take our time with these 11 points here. Again, it's the rewards. Earning the reward gets you a point. Every reward gets you a point. So we did 100 fares in Taxi Driver. We got no rewards other than cash for the first 99 of those fares. But once we completed that glorious 100th fare, we were rewarded with the Borg 9 cabbie, that pink cabbie. And so we got one objective point because of that one reward that we earned. So sadly, like doing an hour and a half of taxi got us only one objective point. Okay, paramedic came with 3 rewards. There was a health pickup delivered to our safe house at some point, an adrenaline pickup also delivered to our safe house, and finally infinite sprint. So each of those rewards gets us another objective point. So completing all 12 levels of paramedic gets you 3 objective points. One small note here, the objective points come when you get the reward, the first time, the only time you get the reward. For example, Infinite Sprint is only given when you complete the 12th and final level of Paramedic, and Adrenaline is only given when you've dropped off a total of 78 patients, which if you do Paramedic successfully, all 12 levels, you will drop off exactly 78 patients. So if you're successful on your first attempt at Paramedic, then the Adrenaline reward and the Infinite Sprint reward happen at the same exact time. But technically, the 78 patients don't need to be consecutive. And then finally, the health pickup comes when you drop off 36 patients. Okay, so this is kind of misleading actually. Technically, the health pickup is rewarded when you complete level 8. And when you complete level 8, you have dropped off exactly 36 patients. So if you complete 8 levels in a row, then this is correct. Like your 36th patient is the one that will get you that health pickup, the health reward, and therefore the objective point. However, if you fail on paramedic, then you can still earn this health pickup, not by completing level 8 and dropping 36 patients, but by dropping off 43 patients non-consecutively in any order, in any fashion. Once you get up to the number 43 patients dropped off in total, you will have earned your health pickup and therefore your objective point. It's complicated slightly by the fact that you don't get credit for the patients you drop off on a given level until you complete the level. I mentioned this in the paramedic video. I'm not going to get into it. One of the many paramedic videos. I'm not going to get into it again, but there's a slight complication there that you only get the credit for the patients, and therefore you only get the reward at the end of some level, like once you've dropped off that 43rd patient non-consecutively, or once you've completed level 8 consecutively. Okay, moving on to Vigilante. After the first 10 Vigilante kills, we got 1 bribe star. That was a reward, and that earned us a single objective point. And all told, we got 6 bribe stars, so 6 objective points for doing all of the Vigilante. And then finally, putting out 20 fires on each of the 3 islands got us 1 objective point because once we put out that 60th fire, we got the flamethrower reward. And again, the reward is the key for the objective point. So all of those R3 missions, those long vehicle missions, got us a grand total of 11 objective points, altogether about 7% of the 100. Okay, finally, there are 3 import-export lists, but there are 2 different ways in which they're handled. For the regular garages, you receive an objective point for every single vehicle at the time of collection. So the first garage we did was in Portland. The import-export vehicle list is right here. We found and deposited all 16 of these vehicles, and every time we deposited one of these vehicles, we got an objective point at that moment. We didn't have to wait for the import-export list to be completed. Like we got them at the moment we dropped each one off. We got an objective point, and there was nothing special that happened when we got the 16th and final one in the list. So we got 16 objective points there. Then we go to the shoreside list, which is another 16. And again, you get a point the instant you drop off one of these cars. And we got 15 of the 16. If you recall, the BF injection is unavailable to us at this moment, as far as I know. It literally does not exist in the game anywhere. No spawn locations, not going to be found in the wild. It is not possible to get at this point in the game, to my knowledge. So we got 15 of the 16 vehicles here deposited, and therefore we got 15 of the 16 objective points. We already have credit for those 15. Okay, but the emergency vehicles crane is weird. It says you still get a point for each vehicle, but you only receive it as a lump sum after all 7 have been delivered. So, if you recall, we have already dropped off at that emergency crane an ambulance, a fire truck, a police car, and an enforcer. So we've got 4 objective points coming to us, owed to us by the game. But we haven't collected the FBI car or the barracks or the Rhino, and again, to the best of my knowledge, those are unavailable at this point in the game. Okay, so the barracks is available. It's parked in a set spawn location in the far north of Staunton Island, but we can't get it over to the emergency vehicle crane, which is on Portland Island. Because maybe if you use the flying cars code, you can get it over. I don't know. I haven't tested it. I'm not going to use the flying cars cheat to earn percentages early or whatever. So anyway, we can't get these 3 cars back to the emergency crane drop-off point, as far as I know. And so even though we've got these 4 objective points coming to us, we haven't gotten credit for them yet, and we won't get credit for them yet until we drop off all 3 of the remaining vehicles. And at that moment, the moment we drop off the 7th and final one, whichever one it is, that's when we will get 7 objective points given to us, 4.55%. Says here this oddity where you don't get them you don't get the objective points one at a time, but you get them only when you completed all 7, is actually what inspired me to look into this, as the Rhino was the last thing I did in my recent 100% run of GTA 3, bumping me from 95% to 100%, which I found very odd. Yeah, and actually that's something that I've experienced too, because in my runs, the Rhino is also the last thing that I drop off. It's the last thing that I do in my game that earns me any percentage. And so if I look at my in-game percentage right before I drop off the Rhino, it's at 95. And then I drop off the Rhino, and then I look at the stats again, and now it's at 100. One technicality, I guess we'll point this out when we actually drop off our 7th and final emergency vehicle, but I don't think that you get credit for these things unless you're close enough to the emergency vehicle, until you're close enough to the emergency vehicle. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. It's just going to be so much easier to show you in the game when we actually drop off the 7th vehicle. But since I've already started it, I'll just say that when we drop off the 7th and final vehicle on that emergency crane location, we get out and then the magnet comes over and picks up the vehicle. We could run away, like let's say we run like 200 feet away. We can still see the crane and we can still see our last vehicle getting deposited. And we'll see a message at the top of the screen that says, hey, great job, here's $1,500. Nice work for finding the Rhino or something. And we can go into the stats menu, and I don't think we will have been given the 4.55% in the stats menu, even at that point, even after the last one is dropped off, because we haven't gotten close enough to the emergency vehicle list to indicate that we've done all of them, the emergency vehicle drop-off spot. So I think what we'll have to do is like run the 200 feet back to the crane location, and at that point, we will see the little icons that allow us to spawn any of these 7, just like we have icons currently to spawn any of these 16 because we completed the garage. So once we complete this crane list, we'll see the icons, and I think at that moment when we can see the icons, that's when we get our 7 objective points and our 4.55% added to our completion. Phew, okay. So in summary, here's the 154 objective points. I'm not going to read it all again, but we just went through them all. But I will tell you that I tallied up all of the things that we've done, like I mentioned, and so currently we have done 82. We have earned 82 of the 154 objective points. That's not counting the 4 that we have coming to us from the crane because they haven't been counted in the game yet. So currently we've earned 82 with another 4 pending. And so 82 divided by 154, that's the total, gives us about 53.25%. So that is the in-game percentage that I'm expecting, 53.25%. So let's take a look at our stats menu. Okay, so here we are going into stats. And like I mentioned, I'm expecting to see 53.25 rounded down to 53, and instead I see 54. I honestly don't understand what's happening here. I've checked my arithmetic. I've checked all the objective points against the KGB's forum post there. I think that 82 is the right number. If I bump it up to 83, we'll get the percentage that the game seems to be giving us here. But I don't know what I'm missing. I don't get it. So if you happen to catch my error, please do let me know. I'll just read off what I have in front of me here for the total. I'll run the stats again. 1 point for the mission we did in the first video, the Give Me Liberty and Luigi's Girls. 4 points for the off-road, 4 points for RC, 1 point for the rampages, 10 points for the packages, 20 points for the jumps, 1 point for taxi driver, 3 points for paramedic, 6 points for vigilante, 1 point for firefighter, 16 points for the Portland IE garage, 15 points for the Shoreside IE garage, and then no points for the emergency crane. So I've double checked my work. I got 82 and I divided by 154 and I got 53 and a quarter-ish, which I was expecting to get rounded down to 53. And so I'm surprised it says 54. Again, if you can find my mistake or explain what's going on here, please drop a note in the comments. Why are we at 54? I don't get it. Okay, so before we wrap up, we'll just point out all the cool things we've done here. So 9 missions completed, totally done with the rampages, the hidden packages, and the unique jumps. No busteds, no hospital visits. That's one of the goals. Here we got the off-road missions. All 4 of them have times. And then we have the RC missions. All 4 of them have number of vehicles destroyed. Skipping this, just going to the objective parts. Passengers dropped off in a taxi is 100. Highest paramedic mission 11. Criminals killed in vigilante 60. Total fire 61. That's kind of ugly for me. But if you recall, even though you could get away with just doing 60 fires and get the objective point, I did a 61st because I really wanted to try to find a ballista on the first island so I could deposit it into the Portland Import-Export garage. And so I did. I did an extra firefighter. I put out a fire, and it happened that it was a ballista, so that worked out. Okay, so I know this video was a little bit different than what we usually do here. I hope it was interesting to you and informative, and thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you real soon.